Representative Rosa DeLauro shreds Hegseth, and the room feels it before he even finishes his first sentence. It's the kind of moment that grabs you by the collar in the first few seconds, because you can tell instantly this isn't going to be a polite exchange or a routine budget hearing. This is a takedown. DeLauro walks in with binders full of data, numbers memorized, deadlines carved into memory, and a tone sharper than steel. And across from her sits a Pentagon chief claiming everything is on track, while offering none of the receipts. That tension alone could lock any viewer in for the first minute. But what happens next?
Ms. DeLauro.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to focus, Mr. Secretary, my question on submarines and our national security, our military shipbuilding, and as I said specifically, submarines, critical investment for national security and for the economy of my home state of Connecticut. This is a yes or no question, Mr. Secretary. Do you agree that continued investment in the Department of Defense in submarine production is in fact critical to the United States national security and military readiness?
Very critical.
Okay, so yes, thank you, and we agree. They'll continue to be a critical asset to deter adversaries, sustain the advantage we have in undersea domain, and the Defense Department should continue to support these programs. What is the status of the Department's investments in submarine programs?
14% increase in FY26 on the Columbia, and a substantial increase in the Virginia as well. So we're ensuring a submarine industrial base that has been left behind, that has been neglected, is fully invested.
We
to make
have
sure
funded
we're
the submarine
speeding up on
base
funding
here.
the submarines.
More than half, and you can go back to last December, but I want to move on. Do you know where our submarine production currently stands, and whether current production is sufficient to bridge the gap between current fleet size and projected need?
There is a gap, but we believe we are closing it, ma'am. Yes.
And if you can get to us the information about how, in fact, that you can close that gap, because we do not have any information or data that can substantiate what you're saying. Your department's initial budget proposal includes incremental funding for the Columbia-class submarine. Is that going to raise alarm bells across the defense industrial base by signaling a lack of commitment to the program?
No, we could not, ma'am. We could not be more committed to Columbia. The centrality in the triad, ensuring it delivers on time, it's central to the deterrent and the base of the United States. So
do you know how much of a financial hole this will create for the defense industrial base? Will there be a financial hole for the defense industrial base in 2026?
Certainly not based on our projections. There is not a hole. We're investing in Columbia robustly.
Okay, without numbers, it's my understanding the department is planning to move $3.1 billion for the Columbia class from 2026 and spread it over 2027 and 2028. This creates a serious problem for industry in the short term and hampers shipbuilders' ability to reach an adequate production rate. Have you been in contact with Electric Boat or with Huntington Ingalls about your plans?
Almost every day, our Deputy Secretary of Defense, alongside our Secretary of the Navy, are actively engaged with all of our shipbuilders and shipyards to make sure their needs not only are being met, but their shortfalls are being addressed so that we can close that gap in real time, which has existed.
So that you can really lay out for us the information and which we would like to get, what this committee needs to take a look at, because I know you believe that submarines are important, as I do, but getting the specific information about where we stand, what the production rate is, what gaps there may be. We're willing to listen to all of that because, in fact, in contrast to what your earlier statement was, we have, in fact, supported mightily the submarine industrial base from this committee. That's not been neglected. Do you have a plan for making the investments necessary to ramp up submarine production to the necessary elections? I would just tell you, as part of the December continuing resolution, Congress included $5.7 billion for the department to put on contract for 2 additional Block 4 and 1 Block 5 Virginia-class submarines. The Navy advised members that these funds were required to be placed on contract by February of 2025, yet the department did not put funding for the 2 additional Block 4 boats on contract until April 30th. So do we have a plan, do you have a plan for making the necessary investments to ramp up submarine production to the necessary levels? And what is that plan?
Ma'am, first of all, I want to thank this committee for the flexibility alongside FY25 and the continued resolution.
Well, I would hope you would thank this committee for the funding that it had made. We have made a serious investment. So your first statement is inaccurate. We have focused squarely on submarines, and we're now want to know where that is going and what your plan is for the continued advancements to meet production levels and make sure that that is an area that's covered for our national security.
Ma'am, I fully acknowledge the investment this committee has made in shipbuilding, and the challenge is our department under the previous administration squandered a lot of that by
Please, I want your plan. I've had difficulties with the prior administration, and I don't mind calling them out. What is your plan for the future? Can we get that in writing and on paper so that we know where you're going? Because we don't have anything today. We have zip, nada, and knowing where you're going. You can talk percentages, you can talk about whatever you want, but unless this committee sees dollars and cents and where you're going and what your plan is, then we may reconsider what you need to do to go forward. Give us the details.
Congresswoman, we have the details and we will provide
Then
them
let's
for you.
have them before we, and my hope is that we could get to it before we go to a markup within a few hours here today. I yield back my time, Mr. Chair.
Gentlelady yields back her time.
It turns into one of the clearest examples of congressional accountability we've seen in years. She starts by pressing him on submarine production, not abstract ideas, not strategic fluff, but the cold hard numbers the Pentagon should know by heart. He says the programs are critical. He says the investments are robust. He throws out percentages like confetti. But the moment she asks for the actual status of production, silence dressed up as confidence. He calls it a gap that's closing, but he can't say how, when, or according to what data. And this is where viewers lean in, because they can feel what DeLauro feels. If you're asking for billions, you better show the math. And the math is exactly what's missing. She doesn't move on. She doesn't accept vague lines. She reminds him that submarines aren't just another project. They're the foundation of U.S. undersea dominance, one of the last domains where the country still holds a clear advantage. If the Pentagon doesn't know where production stands, then who does? Her tone isn't dramatic. It's surgical. She wants to know whether the current production rate can close the widening gap between the fleet the nation has and the fleet it needs. And when she asks for evidence, for documentation, for any form of proof, he says they believe the gap is closing. Not know, believe. But that wasn't the whole story, because then she drops the number everyone in the defense world has been whispering about. $3.1 billion quietly shifted out of the 2026 budget. That money was supposed to stabilize the industrial base, keep shipyards staffed, keep parts flowing, keep production lines warm. Instead, it's being stretched across 2027 and 2028, a move that shipbuilders say creates massive short-term instability. Families rely on this funding. Towns rely on it. Regional economies depend on predictable contracts. And suddenly the funding disappears, replaced with assurances that everything is fine, that he insists there's no financial hole. She counters by pointing out the hole is right there, in the missing billions, in the reshuffled budgets, in the uncertainty radiating across the shipbuilding community. And the best part? She doesn't shout. She doesn't posture. She simply demands specifics he cannot provide. And what happened next would shock everyone watching. She asks him directly whether he has spoken with Electric Boat or Huntington Ingalls, the two shipyards most affected by the shifting budgets. These aren't obscure facilities. They're pillars of American defense manufacturing. Tens of thousands of workers depend on the stability of submarine production. The answer should have been simple. Instead, he delivers a rehearsed generality. They talk almost every day. But when she asks for details, the kind Congress needs to oversee spending, he has none to offer. So she pushes again. If you're talking every day, where's the plan? Where are the updated projections? Where is the workforce analysis? Where are the revised timelines? Because Congress, she reminds him, has supported the submarine industrial base massively. They've provided flexibility, billions in emergency funding, and every tool the Pentagon said it needed. And yet, the Pentagon still can't show a clear path toward meeting production goals. But DeLauro wasn't done. She points out a detail that's damning on its own. Congress provided $5.7 billion for additional Virginia-class submarines, with an explicit requirement that contracts be signed by February 2025. The Pentagon missed that deadline by months, not signing until April 30th. And she wants to know why, not in theory, not in diplomatic generalities, but in hard, documented explanations. He offers thanks for the funding. She cuts him off. Thanks are meaningless without a plan. He tries to pivot to problems inherited from a prior administration. She stops him instantly. She doesn't want excuses. She wants accountability. Because the truth is this: production delays don't care whose fault they used to be. A submarine delivered late is late no matter who is in office. A workforce shortfall doesn't fix itself with blame. The industrial base doesn't stabilize because someone mentioned percentages. DeLauro wants the plan now, in writing, with numbers, timelines, and financials, because without that, no one can even verify whether the Pentagon's story adds up. But that wasn't the final blow. Her closing challenge hits at the heart of government credibility. If the Pentagon can't show what it's doing with billions of taxpayer dollars, then Congress may reconsider what the Pentagon gets going forward. That's not drama. That's oversight. That's the power of the purse being used exactly the way the Constitution intended. And this is where the hearing transforms from a tense exchange into a bigger warning for the entire national security establishment. DeLauro is speaking for more than herself. She's reflecting what millions across the country feel: a growing distrust of agencies that ask for huge budgets while offering fewer real answers. A feeling that critical institutions have become too comfortable offering talking points instead of transparency. And a recognition that national security isn't just about military hardware. It's about trust, reliability, and competence. Submarines aren't something you can fall behind on. They're stealth platforms that shape global strategy. They deter threats without firing a shot. They keep adversaries guessing. And if production falls behind, if budgets slip, if timelines drift, then deterrence weakens long before the world realizes it. That's why DeLauro went so hard. She wasn't grandstanding. She wasn't playing politics. She was doing the one thing elected officials are supposed to do: demand proof when billions are on the line. Demand clarity when the country's safety is at stake. Demand honesty from those who wield enormous power behind closed doors. Her message could not have been clearer. Show us the real numbers, or don't expect the money. And here's what makes the moment resonate even more. She wasn't attacking the military. She was defending it. The people building submarines need stability, not shifting budgets. The sailors who will someday deploy on these vessels need assurance, not ambiguity. The country needs readiness, not rhetoric. This hearing wasn't just a clash of personalities. It was a stress test for accountability. And the Pentagon failed that test in real time. If leaders expect trust, they have to earn it, with data, with transparency, with concrete plans, not polished lines. Because trust in government isn't lost in dramatic scandals. It erodes slowly, moment by moment, hearing by hearing. Each time an official refuses to answer a simple question about where billions of dollars are going. Rosa DeLauro wasn't willing to let that slide. And whether you agree with her or not, moments like this are vital. They remind us that oversight still exists, that Congress still has the power and the duty to demand clarity, and that accountability isn't optional in a functioning democracy. If you found this breakdown valuable and want more deep dives into moments where truth and power collide, make sure to subscribe, hit the like button, and turn on notifications. It helps the channel reach more people who care about transparency and real oversight. Let's keep the conversation going and keep the pressure on for honest answers.